You are trying to remember your third birthday party. There is a photo somewhere, a cake, a smile, maybe a balloon animal that popped and made you cry. But when you close your eyes and try to actually be there, actually inside the memory, there is nothing. Just the photo. Just a story someone told you so many times it started to feel like your own. This isn't because that day didn't matter. It's because your brain, on purpose, made sure you would never remember it at all. That sounds like a flaw. It isn't. The real answer is far stranger than a simple gap in your memory. For over a century, scientists have called this childhood amnesia. Almost nobody remembers anything before the age of 3 or 4. Not the moment you learned to walk, not your first word, not the sound of your own name in your mother's voice on the day you were born. Somewhere between 2 and 3 years old, most of that world quietly vanishes, and it never comes back. Where did it go? Sigmund Freud was the first to give the phenomenon a name, back in the early 1900s. He assumed the memories were repressed, buried on purpose because they were somehow too disturbing for the conscious mind to hold. He was wrong about the reason, but he was right about one thing. Something deliberate was happening. Your brain wasn't losing those years by accident. It was choosing not to keep them. So what was it choosing instead? To understand that, picture your brain as a construction site, not a filing cabinet. An adult brain organizes memory almost like a librarian. Events get tagged with a time, a place, a sequence, a self attached to them. That structure lives largely in a small, seahorse-shaped region called the hippocampus. In a toddler, that region is still being built. The walls aren't up yet. The shelves don't exist. How do you file something away when there's nowhere yet to put it? Here's the part that surprises people. It isn't that toddlers can't form memories. They can. A 2-year-old can recognize a stranger from a photograph weeks later. A 2-year-old can remember exactly where a toy was hidden, even after being distracted. Short-term recall works fine. What's missing is the architecture to file those moments away permanently, stamped with a place in time, connected to a continuous sense of, this happened to me. Researcher Patricia Bauer, who has spent decades studying how memory develops in early childhood, found something remarkable when she tracked young children over time. She would ask a 3-year-old to describe an event from months earlier. The child could do it, vividly, in the moment, with real detail. But when she returned a year later and asked again, the memory was gone. Not faded, gone, as if it had never been encoded at all. Her research suggested the real bottleneck isn't storage capacity. It's the shelf itself still being assembled, unable to hold what gets placed on it for very long. There's a deeper, almost paradoxical reason your brain does this, and it involves the very thing that should be helping you remember more, not less. Your hippocampus during early childhood produces new neurons at an extraordinary rate. This is called neurogenesis. You'd assume more new brain cells means a sharper, more capable memory system. But neuroscientist Paul Franklin, working with his colleague Sheena Jocelyn at the University of Toronto, ran a series of experiments on infant mice that turned this assumption upside down. They found that this flood of new neurons doesn't simply add capacity, it rewires existing circuits so aggressively that it overwrites the very connections holding older memories in place. The process that helps your brain grow is the same process erasing what came before it. Sit with that for a second. The years when you are learning the fastest, absorbing more raw information than at any other point in your life, are the exact years your brain is least able to hold on to any single piece of it as a lasting memory. It sounds almost cruel. Why would evolution design a system that erases itself while it's still under construction? But look at what a toddler's brain is actually optimized for. It isn't optimized to remember Tuesday afternoon. It's optimized to learn an entire language from nothing, to build a working model of gravity and object permanence, to absorb the unwritten rules of a whole social world, all in roughly 3 years. Holding on to autobiographical detail during that window would come at a cost. Every neuron devoted to filing away the memory of one specific afternoon is a neuron not devoted to learning how sentences work, or how faces mean feelings, or how a ball rolls behind a couch and still exists on the other side. Nature made a trade. Detail for capacity, memory for growth. Is that really a bad deal? There's another study led by researcher Carol Peterson that captures how strange this handoff really is. She followed children for years, recording their earliest memories and then checking back periodically to see which ones survived. Childhood amnesia, it turns out, isn't a hard wall at a fixed age. It's a slow fade, a kind of erosion that continues well into the elementary school years, quietly dissolving memories that once felt completely permanent. A 5-year-old might vividly recall something from age 3. By age 8, that same memory is often just gone, replaced by nothing at all. So the boundary keeps moving. Your earliest memory right now, today, is not fixed. It has already survived one long culling process. It may not survive the next one either. And the boundary doesn't move the same way for everyone. Researcher Chi Wang, who studies autobiographical memory across different cultures, compared the earliest memories of adults raised in the United States with adults raised in China. The American memories on average reached back further, and they were dense with personal detail. What I did, what I felt, what I wanted. The memories from adults raised in more collectivist cultures tended to start later, and they leaned towards shared moments. A family gathering, a group outing, a memory that included other people as the point of the story, not just the backdrop. Same species, same hippocampus, same neurogenesis curve, completely different earliest memories. What does that tell you? It tells you that childhood amnesia sets the outer wall, but something else decides what gets built inside it. Wang's explanation involves something surprisingly simple: conversation. In cultures where parents talk to toddlers constantly about the past, asking questions like, "Where did we go? Who did you see? How did that feel?" Children develop a habit of turning raw experience into a narrative with a beginning and an end. A story that can be filed, retrieved, and retold. In cultures with less of that narrative back and forth, fewer of those early moments get stitched into a tellable story at all, so fewer of them survive as memory. Biology builds the shelf. Language decides what gets placed on it and how long it stays. Here's where it gets personal, because this isn't just something that happened to you once, buried in the forgotten years of toddlerhood. It's still happening, quietly right now. Every time you learn something demanding as an adult, whether it's a new language, a new job, a new city, your hippocampus recruits fresh neural resources to build that skill. It's a smaller, quieter echo of what happened when you were 2. And in exchange, some older, less used memories get pushed a little further from reach. Not deleted in one dramatic sweep, just slowly, invisibly, deprioritized, one login of daily life pushing out another. Have you ever tried to picture your childhood bedroom and found the details wouldn't come the way they used to? This is why the version of your childhood you carry today isn't really a recording. It's closer to a story, rebuilt and re-edited every single time you tell it, shaped as much by photographs and family retellings you absorbed later as by whatever was actually happening in the room that day. Ask 2 siblings who lived through the same holiday to describe it, and you will get 2 different scenes, both told with total confidence. Neither one is lying. Both are remembering a memory of a memory, several drafts removed from the original moment. Notice what you actually do with your phone every single day. You take a photo not because you'll forget the moment in the next 5 minutes, but because some older, quieter part of you already knows that memory is temporary, that the feeling in the room right now will not survive intact. So you outsource it. You hand the job of remembering to a device because the device doesn't have a hippocampus fighting off new neurons, doesn't have to make room for tomorrow's learning by clearing out today's detail. Your phone remembers perfectly. You were never built to. There's a strange irony sitting underneath that habit. The more you photograph and experience, the less your brain has to work to encode it. And the less it works to encode it, the weaker your own internal version becomes. Some memory researchers call this the photo-taking impairment effect. Point a camera at something and your attention shifts, subtly, from actually noticing the moment to simply capturing it. You walk away with a perfect image and a strangely thin memory of what it felt like to be there. It's the adult version of what happened to you at 2 years old, just with a different mechanism. Once again, something is being traded away in exchange for something else. This time, it isn't neurogenesis doing the trading. It's a screen. That trade might explain something else too, something you've probably felt without ever naming it. The uneasy sense scrolling back through old photos of looking at a stranger. You know it's you in the picture. You recognize the room, the haircut, maybe even the shirt, but the actual experience of being there, the temperature of the air, the exact thing that made everyone laugh is gone, replaced by a flat rectangle of pixels standing in for a memory that never fully formed. That gap between knowing a moment happened and actually remembering it isn't so different from staring at your own third birthday photo. It's the same forgetting, just running on adult hardware. There is something almost comforting hidden inside all of this, if you look at it the right way. The reason you can't remember being 2 years old is the same reason you were able to become who you are at all. A brain that held on to everything from the very beginning, every face, every fall, every meal, would have had no room left to build the fast, flexible, language-hungry mind that got you through the most demanding learning period of your entire life. Forgetting wasn't the malfunction. Forgetting was the price of admission. So go back to that birthday party, the one you can't actually remember, the one that only exists now as a photograph in a story you've been told so many times, it feels like your own memory. It isn't a failure, it's evidence. Evidence that at exactly that moment in your life, your brain was working harder than it will ever work again, building itself so fast that it had no room left to also build a memory of the moment it happened.